can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walk through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like $100,000.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders like the founders of P90X, Einstein Bagels, Atari, and many more, and how they overcome big challenges in life and business. Our sponsor today is Rise25.com, which helps service professionals, doctors, lawyers, accountants, freelancers, coaches, dentists, anyone working one-on-one with clients, shift from just trading time for dollars from one-on-one client work to one-to-many work. So go to Rise25.com, learn more, download the free Dream Product Ladder, which is basically a business plan on one sheet of paper that helps you see gaps in untapped revenue. Companies like Disney, Apple, sporting industry, they all use versions of the product ladder. Go to Rise25.com. I am excited. Today we have Albert Swantner, founder of Sway Water and Bohemian Innovation. Bohemian Innovation has worked with companies such as Adidas, Microsoft, Fox, and many more. And they have a brilliant 4-step process, which we will talk about, that helps companies create cutting-edge products or technologies. And, they talk about problem definition, prototyping, building, and then, of course, Albert, changing the world comes last, right? Sway Water is a handcrafted, real fruit-infused water made from purified water and real ingredients. So that means no syrups, no concentrates or additives. Sway can be found in over 150 locations around Texas, including Snap Kitchen, Central Market, Royal Blue Grocery, and now Albertsons. Congrats on that. And I checked out some of their delicious flavors, mango, grapefruit, peach, and many others. They all look very good, Albert. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
So I wanted to start with Bohemian because that precedes Sway Water. And I was looking at Adidas, right? You've worked with Adidas, and what's a cool project you did with Adidas?
Yeah, so for Adidas, what we did is we worked with one of their athletes, Derrick Rose.
Yeah. I say that because I'm in Chicago, so I knew that you worked with Derrick Rose. Yeah,
that's right. Back when Derrick Rose was Derrick Rose,
right?
And he wanted to kind of more engage with his brand of shoes in the stores that they were sold. Yeah. And so we worked with Adidas to develop this kind of game. And so what you did is you try to see if you were faster than Derrick Rose. And so a company took this giant screen game around, and you tried to tap on him on the screen as he was moving. And, there was a big competition with all the stores, and the highest person got a free pair of shoes signed by Derrick Rose. And so just a cool way for him to engage with fans on kind of a different level in a more fun, engaging way.
So how did you come up with that?
So we didn't come up with the idea. We are like the executioners. So we said, we want to do some sort of, mobile game. And so we were like, okay, we could do something like this or like this. And we bought a giant touchscreen and prototyped it for them. And it just kind of fit in. And so a lot of the ideas were theirs. And they said, we don't know how to do this. Can you please bring us the technology? And we wrote it all. And this was, pretty early, so they wanted us to use Flash, and we said, let's try to use this new HTML5 and how it works. And so it was a big HTML5 project, which was really fun at the time.
Yeah. I mean, you sort of have to take people's dream or what their idea is and bring it to reality, essentially, right? And it's probably some of it you can do and some of it you have to change, or some of it, you've been doing this for so long, you may have an opinion, well, this is going to be attractive to the user too, right?
That's exactly right. I mean, our goal is to help you create a successful product, not just, make exactly what you want. So a lot of times our feedback is tweaks based on, we've been doing this for 7 years. So we have a lot of experience helping companies launch products and watch them fail or succeed and companies get sold. And so we have a good idea of how to help you out of the gate be a little more successful with your end goals, just based on our experience. Yeah. And so this game is a great example. We were like, let's make something mass producible, that's easy, that's going to be easily repeatable, but also a fun leaderboard. So kind of bringing our insights into how games work, how people communicate, how we've done a lot of installations, how typical installations are run down, and what works in that environment. And so we kind of brought that to the table and said, this is something that we can do that meets your goals that would be really successful. And it was.
So, Albert, how did Adidas find you?
We were found, we had a joint agency. So we worked with a larger agency that was like the creative head on it. And so they really worked with Adidas. And so, again, we are their kind of tech executioner team.
Right.
And that's really how we fit into most of our companies, is they're like the marketing heads or the advertising, and we just kind of bring the tech and the tech perspective and like how to run a project. And that's the role that we fill in these companies.
Yeah, I wanted you to talk about your process a little bit, because you have to do this over and over with a variety of companies, right? And I'm just curious, when you onboard them, that's what I was saying, you talk about, I'm not sure exactly what that means, the problem definition, then you prototype it, then you build it, then change your world. When someone comes to you, how do you start that relationship? What do you do?
For us, we really do work with companies in the whole spectrum. And so a lot of our companies are startups that say, hey, we have a very limited budget, we have very limited time.
Yeah, how do we handcuff us some more? Like, we don't have enough handcuff with technology.
Yeah, let's make it as hard as possible for you. And that's great. We love startups. We love working with companies and seeing them grow. I mean, a lot of our companies started with an idea and now have hundreds of thousands of daily active users, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like finding which bucket of ours they fit into, right? Sometimes it's a very tight scope so that we can do the entire set of work in 4 weeks and it's as cheap as possible and get it out the door. Sometimes we have some room to explore. So it really is down to like budget, time, how difficult it is, and helping them mold their idea into something that's unique. A lot of people come to us and say, hey, I want to make a photo app, or I want to make an app to find my friends at bars. And it's kind of helping find the core of that idea and turning it into
You're
something.
Like, it's called Gmail. No, it already exists.
Yeah, it all exists. Here are 8 apps we've done out of that thing. But helping them find the nugget that they liked and turn it into something actually unique.
Yeah, so tell me about, what's a time when someone came to you and the whole idea really shifted because of that process? They came to you, maybe they just wanted whatever it was, a photo sharing app, and it turned into something completely different because of the interaction and defining the problem.
Sure. So we recently met a client that wanted to do a photo sharing app, and it was essentially, you could take 24 photos of an event like a roll of film, right? And so we've done projects pretty similar to that and had them pitched to us many times, because that's like a good first idea for someone, right? And so what I took from them was that they liked this idea of like photo curation and kind of scarcity, and that was really what they liked about the idea, not necessarily the 24 photos and this camera roll and all that. And so what we did is we helped them pivot into where we could take a giant set of images from your Dropbox, use some AI cleverness to pull out the best 24 images, right? So you can say, I want to take the top 24 images from my trip to Bali last month.
Interesting.
And it would say, okay, based
That's
on
cool.
photos are cool, here are we think the top images from this trip, right? So we kind of took the problem they were trying to solve, and I think solved it in a much more clever way. So that's not out yet, but
that's a cool problem for like professional photographers, right? They probably take thousands of photos. If there's a way of curating so they don't have to spend hours going through every one, that would be really valuable.
Yeah, and so the AI, basically we fed it photos that are good photos. And so now it's kind of good at like picking good photos, which is kind of a cool thing, right? And so that's an example how you take the nugget of the idea and say, okay, here's how you can make it really cutting edge. And some people will be like, wow, that actually is cool.
What do you find going on with AI now? I mean, you're probably more on the cutting edge than most people. What's coming, or what are you guys working on that has AI components that most people probably would be blown away with that's even in existence right now?
So there's a lot of stuff we're working on, specifically some stuff around audio and source separation, like some of the stuff with image classification, and not just saying this is a dog, but saying like this is a good photo of a dog. And so, we're really implementers. And so we're thinking about in-user implementations of AI. So like the companies that come to us and say, hey, what do we do with AI? Being able to say, here's something that you can do that directly relates to your business. So we're not like researchers coming up with new search algorithms, right? We're saying, okay, how do we take TensorFlow and some of the Google tools available and actually make it applicable to this startup and this person's actual business? Because we need to deliver results. That's why people hire us,
Right. Well, that's what it's real world applications for AI. I can see the photo. Are there other one? Like what's another example of a usage where you've taken something like that and you've actually brought it to a real world use?
So one thing we're working on is, like I said, audio source separation. And so someone brought to us the idea that during conference calls, it's hard sometimes to hear. There's a lot of background noise. And so we're training an AI that essentially learns what your voice sounds like and how your voice wave patterns work. And so what we're now able to do is filter out everything that's not your voice, right? And so we can essentially take crowded audio and signal out what you sound like and then only hear yourself. And so taking this really cool AI concept of, pattern matching and how we do source separation to actually, okay, now there's an app where conference calls are made super clear because your audio is the only audio that's heard. So that's kind of something else.
I mean, it's interesting the breadth of companies you've worked with, right? I said Adidas, you have the Dairy Farmers of Canada, and then Charity Miles. So what could you possibly do with the Dairy Farmers of Canada?
That was a fun job. That was in Vancouver. They're trying to get people to drink chocolate milk as kind of a recovery drink. And so what we did is we made these smart vending machines where you would text in to a phone number and you would get a free sample of chocolate milk, and you would kind of opt into these milk promotions and trivia games and stuff like that. Yeah, and so they traveled this vending machine that we wrapped and like completely retrofitted the inside to where it only took texting as currency, and so it would dispense milk, texted it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so our business really is broken into two parts. It's like the fun work that doesn't pay anything, which is, all these cool interactive installations that are really exciting and get us jazzed. And then it's like our everyday app work that really pays the bills, that drives revenue, that's kind of like our two businesses, and it keeps people interested in what we're doing. Yeah,
we'll talk about that because you are working with Tiff's Treats, right, and doing some of their applications. What kind of stuff do you have to do for them?
Yeah, so for them, they're having a big push in the technology sector. They need mobile applications to kind of fill out their delivery side of their business. So right now, all the ordering is done online. And so they came to us and they said, hey, we need a mobile app that can track orders and you can see where they're going and that type of stuff. And so we said, sure, we've done a lot of mapping. We do apps every day. And so we did their iOS app, which just launched about 2 weeks ago. And it's a full ordering, mapping, entire system. And so for them, we're their app team. They have a server team in place. They have a couple in-house resources, and we're like the extra kick to get this work over the edge and released. Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's a cookie delivery, right?
Yes. They're amazing, awesome company. They're growing amazingly fast. So it's an honor to be able to work with them.
So who should be working with Bohemian that isn't right now? Who needs like a redesign of their app?
Yeah, everyone.
Because that's where things are going, right? I mean, if you look at like Waze or Uber or any of these apps, I mean, it's all really probably complex technology, I'm assuming, right? The stuff that you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, and really it's that next generation of companies that have websites and really big businesses that are looking to get into mobile is kind of where we would fit in. It's like a lot of delivery, and for us, not so much mobile app startups because that is a really, really hard business, but someone who has a business who needs to be on mobile. That's who we really like to work with because they have a business. You know?
The primary business is not downloads of their app. It's service.
Which is a really hard business.
Yeah. What have you seen that, I mean, you probably give a lot of advice on, because when you create the app, you want people using it, on actually getting people to engage in usage and gamification. What are some of the things that people should think about to gamify or to increase the users using it? Yeah,
I mean, my number one piece of advice is, are you sure you really want to do this? I mean, it's very, very, very hard. One of the best examples that we have that we're still working with is Charity Miles. And so the way that we're bringing more of gamification to that is by, letting people earn badges the more they exercise. And the more you exercise, the more money is given to charity. So it's kind of like this reinforcing cycle of, hey, I'm getting a little bit of reward, but also I'm doing something for a cause I believe in, and that's driving that business. And so that's kind of a little bit of the gamification. But for us, really, mobile apps have to have a business besides advertising. That's a very, very hard thing to do without millions of eyeballs, which is not easy now. I mean, I think there's a stat that the average person downloads 0 apps per month on their phone. So you have to fight that, and it's very, very hard.
Yeah. What are your favorite apps that you have on yours?
I'm a functional person. So, Hangouts, Skype, Gmail, Flipboard, CNN, Washington Post. And I use it for like reading the news, and I don't have a lot of time to be on my phone.
Right. You're creating apps. You don't have time to be on apps. Right?
That's right. I'll download new stuff and see what it looks like, what design patterns are cool.
Yeah.
But I don't spend a ton of time on.
So, Albert, Sway Water. When does Sway? What's the idea from Sway Water?
Sure. So, Bohemian is great. I love letting people like seeing their dreams succeed and being part of what they're doing. And, being an entrepreneur myself, there's something really appealing about a business I don't understand. And so for us, that's CPG. And I know the pitfalls in tech, so it was kind of daunting to start a tech company. But looking at CPG, I don't know how hard that is when I started. So we jumped in.
Why? What was the reason? Because you could do anything. Yeah. Why did you decide to jump into that?
So my wife and I went on our honeymoon, and we, actually got to relax, and we had some cucumber water. And then I just started thinking about kind of the food cycle and how things are produced and what we're putting in our bodies. And so, we had our first kid about a year after that. And then you start thinking, like, what is my kid drinking? What are the options? What are natural flavors? How are these actually created in a lab? And so for us, it was just like, I think we can do this better, So just incrementally taking crazy step after crazy step until it turned into a real business about 18 months ago.
What was the first iteration of the product? Were you just messing around in the kitchen, or?
Basically, yeah. The first iteration, we got about 10,000 of these flip top bottles from China.
So you went all out. It's not like
all out. If you're gonna do it, do it.
Okay.
A commercial kitchen space, and we got a giant pot that had a spigot at the bottom. And we just started crafting drinks and started selling. So within 2 months of starting, we were on store shelves.
Really?
Not in the best packaging, in the best place, but it took time to iterate,
So you just decided, and you're like, we're just going to order 10,000 bottles and do this.
That was a price break. You got a price break at 10,000, so naturally.
Obviously. So what were the first flavors? Did you test it before you created it? Were you testing in smaller batches?
We were testing a smaller batch of the friends and family for a few months, and then we started doing the farmer's market. And so our first flavor, and still our best-selling flavor, is cucumber lime.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was like the original. It's just cucumber is really refreshing, and cucumbers are really hard taste to fake. Like cucumber natural flavors don't really taste like a cucumber, and so we found the only way to do it is using real cucumbers. And so still our bestseller. That's 35% of our revenue, that one single flavor.
So farmer's market, what do you do to sell there? This is different from working with Adidas and doing technology. Now you're at a farmer's market selling bottled water.
That's right. That's every Saturday morning at 8:15. Pack up the tent, go down there, and get ready for a lot of opinions about what you're doing.
What was some of the feedback you got early on?
It was a mix. It was, it's not strong enough. It's, it needs to be sweeter. It was a lot when we first started. It was a lot of, it doesn't taste sweet, or it doesn't taste like anything, and so we're like,
but you're like, yes, it has no sugar in it, just like
this is not the drink for you, I don't think. But now, it's kind of, we were a little bit early on that wave, but now, that's like the standard. It's like, oh, there's no sugar. Okay, great. We don't want sugar. So it's like now we're putting onto store shelves really nicely and having really good velocity through our accounts, because now this is what people are looking for. We were just a touch early, but now we're really coming into it.
So what did you find from the farmer's market? Did you find, okay, this is viable, then we're going to order 10,000 bottles? Like, were people just selling through, or you're like, you know what, we're going to gather the feedback and we're just going to, create a larger batch?
So we ordered the bottles. Like, that was the first thing I did.
Right.
I got a friend to do labels, order the bottles. They showed up in my driveway. I was like, oh my God, this is what 10,000 bottles looks like. I had an idea, but it's much bigger than I thought. We had a tarp on that in our driveway for probably 3 months. But we just got to go for it, But for us, that's what we did.
Yeah. So now you have the product. How did you get it into stores?
So our first break was the school district. So they saw us at like a really small local grocery store, and they were like, kids need something healthy. We're transitioning off sugar, off sweetened drinks. We have no options for kids to drink, and we think kids would like this. So
after that, we started to think that this might actually have some legs. So from there, we did self-distribution, self-manufacturing for about a year, just because, we wanted to find a manufacturer that would hold to our values, right? We really wanted to use real ingredients, purees and juices. We didn't want natural flavors. It needed to be pasteurized because we're using real ingredients. So it took us a while to find a good co-packer match. And so in March of this year, we got our first co-packer run that we were happy with. And from that point, we onboarded KeHE and UNFI. We have a bunch of local distributors in Texas. So they started helping get our product out there. And so with Albertsons, which is a great thing for us, we're in about 400 stores now in Texas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's some of the advantages and disadvantages of going into the grocery stores like this so early?
Well, the advantages is that, the number one thing in this business is, do you have traction? Like, does your product have sell-through at the store?
Yeah.
And so for us to be able to show, hey, this grocery store in Austin sells 70 cases a month of single-serve drinks is great, right? Because that's 3 times as much as their average drink sells.
Yeah.
And so that's all that matters. Once you prove that, you can get into more stores, you get distributors, you get money. It all kind of flows from, do people actually buy this thing? And then do they come back and buy it a second time? And we've proven that people do want this, people will buy it, which makes it easier for us to do everything else.
I love the design and the labels. How did you come up with that?
So a friend of mine did our first pass for free. And then as we got a little bigger, we started finding individual designers who we liked. And so this designer was from San Francisco. She'd worked on some Starbucks branding. And we kind of were just begged her to help us. And so we worked together with her on that.
Really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
And then how do you decide on the packaging, right? Because it looks, I think they're all glass bottles, right?
Yeah.
Is that a hard decision to make or not a hard decision? Because obviously people can go the plastic route or the glass route. It's probably more expensive for you to go the glass route, I would imagine.
It is. It's more expensive and more difficult. And a lot of our competitors do use plastic, but for us, we're trying to do a company in a way we think it should be done. And so, first of all, heating plastic we think releases chemicals, and we don't really want that to be part of what we're doing. We don't want to contribute to the plastic waste that's just piling and piling and piling. And so for us, glass is kind of a natural fit. You can reuse the bottles, you can recycle them. It feels better. It tastes better because it's cold in glass, and it just kind of fits what we're trying to do.
Yeah, for sure. So cucumber lime is a house favorite. What was the second flavor that you decided to create?
Our second flavor was lemon ginger. And so for us, we like ginger, and it was just it was a nice marrying of flavors. And everyone has some sort of lemon water. And so we started with still water was our first line because we could make that by hand. The sparkling we couldn't do in our kitchen. And so we sold those still waters, that flavor. And then we have a strawberry flavor. And then we had a seasonal. We do apple sometimes. We do kind of various things for the fourth still flavor.
So how often do you come out with new flavors, or are you tinkering with new flavors? What's the process for that?
We're tinkering all the time. Coming out with new flavors, it used to be easy when we were in a kitchen. Now that we have a co-packer and all these federal regulations, it's much harder to come out with new flavors, which we do, about once a year. But every batch we get from the co-packer every few months, we're tinkering, we're tweaking, we're, sourcing better ingredients. So everything we use is organic, but just finding better farms. So we're always iterating little by little.
Yeah, I love it. And so what's the role? Your wife is in the business too with the Sweetwater?
Business, yeah.
Okay, cool. So how is it working with a spouse?
It's difficult.
We won't let her watch this. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right. Don't tune in. It's difficult. Plus, we have 2 small children at home, and so she also stays home with them. And so, I shoulder a lot of it. And, we work with 2 other people at Sway too, so they do a lot of the work so that we can have, solid family time, which is important to us too. You can easily get completely consumed by these businesses and starting your own business. And so trying to draw a line in the sand at 5:30 that, we don't work anymore.
It's impossible. Yeah. How do you get better sell-through in the grocery stores? Is there something that helps? Because ideally, you just want people to keep buying, so they have to keep reordering.
That's right. What's great about CPG is it's pretty formulaic. You're not inventing anything new with how you sell through stores. So for us, sell through at stores are discounts. So doing discounts means you get an end cap, you get a special tag, and people are always drawn towards something that's on sale.
Yeah.
You need to spend money to have sell-through, and drive that first trial. We do tastings at our major accounts like our Fiestas and Central Markets to make sure people try the product. And for us, that's the biggest hurdle. Like, it's kind of a new category, something a little different. Just try it, you'll like it, and then we have a customer for life. But it's getting that first trial that we really focus on.
Have you found, Albert, that there's been any unique combinations or uses? Like, people have taken Red Bull and combine, which is the opposite end of the healthy spectrum than soy water, but they've taken Red Bull and combine it with whatever. Have you found any of that with soy water? Like, they're using it for different things you didn't expect?
Totally. I mean, we have a huge market for parties. So at South by Southwest, we had tons of inquiries for donations for parties, and so people are mixing our sparkling water with Tito's vodka and making really cool cocktail combinations, because it's like a skinny cocktail that actually tastes like something and tastes good. And so for us, it's kind of a new avenue for stores to be in, how we market the product, kind of reaching a consumer that we do want in the evening, but then also during the day, they're like, hey, I don't really need Tito's in this right now, but I do like this water.
It's 9 in the morning. I don't need
not time for a Tito's this way, but just a regular sway would work. So kind of this weird underground culture, people making really cool drinks with sway. Yeah.
How do you manage both companies? And you have 2 kids and you're married, right?
Yeah.
It's not an easy. You look like you're not sleep deprived also.
Hey, that's good. I had a good night last night.
Okay.
Last weekend was rough. We had some stomach issues and colds, and so
Right.
I mean, it's difficult. And for me, it's just about having a very rigorous schedule. 5:30 really dropping what we're doing, and then picking it back up at 8 when everyone's asleep. Just being really regimented with your time, because it's really easy. I mean, before I had kids and a wife, this is just what I did all day long, day, night. So just being more thoughtful about making sure every hour is spent the best way that it can be spent, and just, not surfing Reddit in the middle of the day. Just saying, I'm going to work so I can spend time with my family and not.
Do you regiment it certain days for certain companies or certain hours for certain companies? How do you manage the breakdown of schedule with that?
Yeah, it's certain hours for certain companies, and so we have specific days and times that the team knows that I'm available, and so stuff that I need to do, we hit in that time that I'm available for different companies.
Yeah. What else with Sway Water? Milestones or anything that you think people would be interested in knowing behind the brand?
That's interesting. So for milestones, for us, it's sales milestones. So we're looking for that. We haven't hit it yet, but we're looking for the $1 million in trailing 12 revenue. So that's kind of our next big revenue milestone. And for us, when we sell that much, that's an incredible amount of units. You think about selling at our price, we have to sell maybe 1.5 million units, which is logistically a lot of work. So you look at companies, they're doing well, and you say, okay, they sold 10,000 units or 100,000 units. You're like, well, yeah, we sell that in a month, but for us to actually logistically move 100 pallets here and there, because that's so far from how we started, and we're not beverage people. We're learning as we go, and so that's our next big milestone for Sway. The cool thing has just been interest from people I wouldn't expect to be interested. So, for example, Pusha T, who is the president of Kanye West's record label, we reached out and we got together, and now he's like our cultural director and an investor. And we go see him in shows, and it's kind of cool because these people are reaching out saying, "Hey, this brand looks really hot. Like, how can we be involved? What can we do?" And it's a cool thing, that something that you created, someone thinks it's interesting enough to approach you and say, "Hey, we want to be involved. What can we do?" And we're saying we're microscopic. We're in so few stores. Our revenue is so small, but it's cool to they see the potential and where we can go, and just gathering as many people as we can to help us succeed as we get to be bigger and bigger.
How did you come up with the name Sway Water? I really like it.
Thanks. Originally, it was we had different words on the bottle that kind of made you feel a certain way. And so that fell off because the flavors got to be, no one understood what was in it. But the idea behind it has been the same. Cucumber kind of makes you feel refreshed. Lemon, ginger gives you a little bit of energy. And so like each flavor kind of, depending on your mood, there's a different sway for it. It kind of like sways your mood.
Got it. Yeah, I like that. And I want you to talk about, I'm going to shift gears for a second from sway water to, you've had some major accomplishments in the Big Brother program. Mm-hmm. So how did you get involved with that, and what do you do?
Sure. So part of me is I love giving back. My father's a Lutheran minister, so it's kind of like in my body to just make sure it's not all
infused in your DNA.
I can't get away from it, right? And so I worked in the food pantry for 5 years here, running the food pantry. And so Big Brothers Big Sisters was just an organization that I really believe in the mission. My wife teaches, before we had kids, she taught in like the east side of Austin, which is a little bit, it's like an up and coming, rougher area. It's like seeing how her students struggled through everyday life was just, something that I could help with. And so I joined Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I was a big mentor for 3 or 4 years, and now I'm on kind of the junior board. I was Big Brother of the Year last year. And so just, it's been a cool opportunity to...
Because you let someone play with the Derrick Rose game. That's why you get me brother.
No, it's cool, like being able to be an advocate for an organization, helping recruit other tech people to see that there's more than just this startup you're trying to build. Just like, instill those values in other people so that they can come up as well.
Yeah. What kind of stuff do you do with Big Brother? How does it work for people who don't know?
Yeah, so as a mentor, what you do is you're paired up with a student who's typically from 7 up through 17. And all you're really required to do is spend about an hour every 2 weeks with them, 2 hours. And so some of the activities we did, we went, indoor skydiving, we'd go play some basketball, we'd go just eat dinner, go to see a movie, really anything, because you're kind of that person who is there for them that's not in their family, that can kind of hear what they're struggling with, can give them, advice that is maybe outside of what their mom is going to tell them to do. Because as a teenager, you have problems you don't want to ask your mom about, right? And if you don't have
anything,
really, anything besides helping with this home. But it's good that they have a positive influence. A lot of times the people they look for to advice are maybe not the best people to give them advice on what they should do. Is it someone
who doesn't have a male figure in their life, or how do they choose if someone's going to be in the Big Brother program?
A lot of times it is something like that. So maybe the father is incarcerated or is passed on or something like that. And then there's a lot of gang influence. And so just helping say, hey, there's another path. Let me show you what it's like. So, we work with the UT a lot, and where we'll go and we'll have the kids go see what a college group looks like, what a classroom looks like, different career paths. Because a lot of times you don't know what they're going to do for their career. They don't know what options are available.
They're probably not maybe thinking about their career that much.
Yeah, they're trying to really survive, right? And so say, hey, after you survive, you've got to do something, right? And so just saying, hey, you can be an auto mechanic. That's a great career. Here's how that works. And so just kind of helping them get to that next phase of their life where they're not a kid anymore. Just helping them get. Yeah.
So from the food pantry side of things, what kind of things did you see that touched you in the food pantry? Because it seemed like you were there for a number of years. You probably get to know the people coming in, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets you, like when you see the same people week after week, and the ones that are really struggling for a long time, like through illnesses or just kind of bad luck, but they can't just quite turn that corner, They have kids maybe that all come in the pantry and they're just, how they're so appreciative of just having a bag of food to eat, Most of us take for granted that we can go to the grocery store and buy some organic kale, right? But a whole other group
first
of
world problems.
Yeah, or starving for like a bag of beans that, they can't afford to buy. And so just being able to just reassess my life and say, hey, I've got problems with this guy. He's got problems, and I'm glad that I can help him through his day.
Right.
It's kind of reframing how we
It's heartbreaking, to see that, I think.
Encouraging. Like, people try to get better, and if you can give them a little hand up, and then to see people say, the greatest thing was seeing them kind of graduate from the pantry and come back and volunteer to help other people.
Really?
Like, that's great. It's like you've now have your own apartment, and now you're like, I want to help that next guy get to be where I am. And so that makes you feel like you're making a little difference to someone.
How did that happen for them? That they actually, and that's a huge change.
Finding a company that's willing to hire someone that may have a felony or may, have a hard time getting to work or needs to take the bus or may not be dressed the nicest, but that can do work. And so once you find a job, it kind of enables you to get an apartment and start living a life.
Yeah, that's awesome, Albert. Thanks for sharing that. And you also do work with Latinitas, and that's a nonprofit magazine. What is that about? How did you get involved?
They do education for Latina girls, a lot of STEM stuff and computer training. And so for me, I was the tech member of the board. So
how did you get involved with them? Did you know someone?
I knew someone else on the board, and they were looking for someone to help them do their technology lessons. So like a lot of Scratch programming, the Scratch programming language MIT did, and just getting Latina girls to see other career paths as well. Like say, hey, you can be a scientist, you can be a computer programmer, and here is like a little taste of what that looks like. And so that was it was like similar to other stuff, but just excited to see Latina girls say, I can be a programmer. This isn't that hard, and see them make little games and kind of bring their point of view to, the game culture that's primarily white men is kind of exciting. Yeah.
Albert, thank you. This has been super interesting. I really appreciate your time. Everyone should check out swaywater.com and bohemian.cc. And last question, Albert. I always ask, since it's Inspired Insider, what's been the lowest point in business, and then what has been the proudest moment, highest point for you?
That's a good question. For me, some of the lowest points were kind of early on, and one of my mentors told me something really great when I was starting out. They said, when you're starting to get tired is when you're close, When you have a bunch of energy and you're feeling great, it's really easy to keep going. It's when you start to really get burned out and kind of feel like, do I want to do this? That means that you're close, So for years of doing Bohemian, I was living on friends' couches and doing nothing, right? And then you just say, like, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And then just kind of persisting through that, and then kind of hitting that point where you get one good client, you get another good client, and then saying, okay, like, I think we've crossed that corner to where I'm ready to just say, forget all this. So yeah, definitely some low moments early where, I'm broke, borrowing money from my aunt, just saying, please give me money for payroll so I can keep going. Yeah. Those are some rough times.
Did you, how did you get that entrepreneurial bug? Have you always had it from growing up?
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe just a little bit of arrogance. I worked after I graduated. I have a master's in mechanical engineering, and so that was my path. I was going to be an engineer.
Right.
I worked at a product development company doing electric scooters, and after a year, I was like, man, it's really hard working for this guy that I think that I'm smarter than, And so for me, it was like, well, put up or shut up. Either, you do this and you prove that you can do it, or you just keep working. So I guess I've always had it. Didn't realize it until I started working and realized I didn't like it.
So proudest moment, entrepreneurial?
Yeah, proudest for me, there's been a couple, but recently for Sway Water, creating something from nothing is really hard. And so when my wife and I walked into Central Market by our house, like a grocery store that we have been shopping at for years, and then seeing someone drinking the product, just like a random person. Like, we call it seeing a sway in the wild. Every time we see a sway in the wild, we all text each other.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, the first time I saw that was cool, because you're like, man, I created this by my own hands and have watched it grow from nothing. And now this random person I don't know is enjoying this product that I've worked so hard to make. So that's a really cool thing. I mean, I know it's not like I didn't sell the company for $100 million yet, but just that little way you're saying, okay, like, I think we're on the right path.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to have you see some in the wild in Chicago.
Almost. We're so close.
People can buy it online from swaywater.com, right?
Yep, you can buy it online.
Very cool. So everyone check it out, swaywater.com, bohemian.cc. Albert, I want to be the first one to thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I had fun.
Yeah.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.